Well, I'm Libby Johnston. I'm the clinical relations rep for Union and Delatory Orthotics and Prosthetics. We are sorry that we haven't been able to have a live amputee, all amputee event where we bring you together. We have a nice lunch. We get to have a presentation like this, and then we all get to talk. So separate from the lunch, we're going to try to do today is what's one of the topics that we had planned to do for a prosthetics and technology amputee event that we were going to do. We have 3 different ones we'd like to do of this. We're starting and today with leg in a day, which is going to talk about how we can do a leg in a day at our Harmer location. And we're going to let Kate and Bjorn, 2 of our prosthetists, go through their presentation, and then they'll take questions at the end. And then we'll have a time that you'll be able to ask the clinician on the Zoom anything you want, you know, like if they know any other jokes or something about prosthetics too, would be nice, okay? So I'm gonna turn it over to Kate, who's already got her screen shared, and she will get us started. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Libby. Wanted to just start with thanking everyone for coming today. And the topic we are going to discuss today is related to technology because of the capabilities that it gives us. 2 to 3 years ago, it's probably closer to 3 years ago now, we got a system which we will show you every part of it in the following videos that take a lot of time and effort out of what we used to have to do with our hands. It cuts down on manufacturing time. It improves efficiency and consistency. The technicians are still needed to operate all of the different equipment we're going to talk about later, but it just, like I said, it really cuts down on the time. So now we can make a prosthesis in almost just a day. So leg in a day is just sort of like it's not anything trademarked or anything, but basically it's when a person who needs a prosthesis can come to our office, and this is a specific location within the Delatory office locations, that we can manufacture either just a check socket or the definitive socket while you wait in the office. That's the big key. It's the same process we go through to make a prosthesis for anyone, but at this point, it's just while you're waiting in the office.
So basically, I'm taking over now, is that what?
Yeah, so I'm gonna turn it over to Bjorn now, and he's gonna kind of describe the next part of it here.
So yeah, so basically we're talking about taking the cast. You will see a video of that, casting measurements, then the modification on the computer, the fabrication of the socket, which would include the digitization of the cast, and then carving the modified socket, and then pulling a check socket. And then you will see, and I'll talk about it while we play the video. And some of them are, you know, most patients have seen it or done this before, you know, especially the casting part of it. But yeah, today patients coming in, you know, we take a mold over the designated liner. We mark the bony prominences. This could be a plaster cast. This could be a fiberglass cast. You know, that is up to the practitioner who does take the mold. You know, then we would obviously, usually we would fill this cast out with plaster, but thanks to the digitizer that you see here, we can actually digitize the inside of the socket so we don't have to fill it out with plaster anymore. Wait for the plaster to cure 40 minutes and then modify the cast for 45 minutes. We can digitize this and then creates a computer file that we have it's called ProCAD. We can modify the socket on the computer screen you know, smooth out the cast, build up on bony prominences, and then create another file, and then send it to a CNC carver that you will see next. And that one will then basically take that file, foam lick would be installed into the carver itself. It will carve it down. This is speed up. This is not how fast it goes. It goes a little slower than that. So just for time reason, we sped that up a little bit. And then we take that mold, you can put a locking mechanism on it, a locking dummy, a suction system, valves, and then we would pull the plaster over. This is a thermoplastic material. We call it PETG. There's different materials out there we can use. And then we would have a finished check socket for the same day fitting. So this will all be done while you wait in the office, or there's some other location we want to talk about later where you can sit, have some food, watch TV, things like that. Yeah, that's basically from casting to check socket.
Yeah. Thanks, Bjorn. This next half will be going from a check socket to a definitive socket. We have tried in the past going from casting the limb all the way to the permanent definitive socket, but there is still time involved in making all these things. The lamination process, which is making a permanent socket, not one out of plastic, still takes hours to do the layups, to have it set off so that it's firm and safe to walk on. So there was really no way to cut down on that. So going from a cast to a definitive socket in a day is a really, really long day. And we found that it really wasn't beneficial to anyone to do it that way. So typically leg in a day now is just kind of cut in half into two separate. So this next video is going to show you once the person comes in with their check socket after they've worn it for, I don't know, a couple days, a week, or a given amount of time, they can come into the office and we use the digitizer again to copy the inside of the socket, mostly if we've made changes. So if we've had to heat and flare the plastic for comfort or relief or better support, we like to use the check socket as a basic blueprint to make the permanent or definitive socket. So this is just someone coming in for a check socket fitting. Video of the cast, but it would, in the situation, it would be a check socket in that digitizer. So this is, the lamination still has to be done by hand. So you can see all these layers of material were put over the model. And this is done under vacuum. So use a little bit of gravity to pull the liquid down. It has to be strung through the whole model to get it even. Once that cures, after a couple hours, it's cleaned up and put on the patient, and they can walk around in the office. That woman, I was told, not my patient, but that was her very first time walking on a prosthesis. She wasn't quite that fast, but she was impressive nonetheless. So then you can leave the office after spending a little bit of time aligning or adjusting the socket. Yeah, so any questions before I move on about like the manufacturing process? You can unmute yourself to ask a question, or we can just keep going. For those of you that haven't been to the Delatory Harmer office, this is located in Harmerville, right on between Freeport Road and 28. So it's the actual Harmer exit off of Route 28. We're inside of this professional office building. There's a mixed use kind of things in here, but so there's double doors. We just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what the place looks like if you've never been there. We've got signs that point you down the hallway. We're right on the first floor. The picture on the right-hand side is Zupa's, which is a cafe inside the building. And the owner is very friendly. All the staff has gotten lunch and breakfast there before, good coffee. And he has a QR code on his menu that you would be able to order right from your phone. and then walk down and get it. He does all, I mean, like I said, breakfast and lunch, good cookies and all kinds of stuff. So you'd have a place to eat in the building. This is showing a little bit of the lobby area right out. So our offices are those 4 glass windows you see on the wall there. There's a TV with cable and a remote, some lounge couches to relax on, tables to eat at. There are restrooms in the building. They're not in our office, but everything is handicap accessible. This is our waiting room that you would be greeted at and then brought back to one of our offices, and then we would get started. This slide, in the area, I did want to point out that you wouldn't have to sit in the exam room the whole time. That's not our purpose, to kind of hold you hostage there all day. There's a Target close by. There's other restaurants. There's a big Pittsburgh Mills Mall, a couple miles up 28. So you would be in communication with your prosthetist about, okay, this next part is going to take like 2 hours. Don't, you know, you can go out and do whatever you want, come back in 2 hours kind of thing. If we get done faster, we always let you know. If for some reason mistakes do happen, we also stay in touch with you throughout the day so that you're not sitting in the office maybe longer than you really need to. Bjorn, did you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, basically, you know, so why would you use the service that we offer? You know, if you're coming from further away, if you maybe are an hour, 2 hours away from our office, but you want to use us for your prosthetic leg, we can offer you the service so you can get your prosthetic leg instead of, you know, coming one day a week, then next week, and then the following week, instead of having 3 weeks of making your prosthetic leg, we would basically do that in 2 days. You would have to spend longer time in the office, which could be boring, but we have all these other things you can do there. You can get food. You don't have to stay in the office, like Kate said. So it's more efficient that way than the multiple visits in over weeks. You know, you don't, you know, like it says here, you don't have to take off work as much. You would have, you know, basically I said you would be spending more time in the office, but you would also not come as often into the office. And I believe you could actually get better outcomes if you spend more time.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to point out is that you wouldn't have to continue following up at the Harmer office. You can continue to see your prosthetist at whatever office you normally go to. This would just be an exception, and it doesn't eliminate the possibility of you having other appointments at your typical office. This also requires some extra planning because there's a technician dedicated to your prosthesis all day long. And then the prosthetist also has to be available. So if you want to do this option, you just have to talk to your prosthetist about it. And then between the technician, the prosthetist, and the patient, you work out a schedule of what day works best for everyone. That concludes our presentation. We'd like to open up the meeting to anyone that has follow-up questions or would like clarification on anything. Has anyone on the call done this before? Is there anyone? No.
No, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I came in late. Can you tell me what a prosthetist is?
A prosthetist? Yes. Yeah. It is a certified clinician that is educated and a professional in taking care of amputees and their prosthetic needs.
Okay, thank you. I was listening to what you were saying, but I didn't know what it was.
yeah, it can get mistaken for other things. But yes.
It's the guy that makes the legs, basically.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I just got a new leg,
Great.
and it's fantastic. The only thing I have wrong with this is I used my rubber shield there, and it goes down into the leg, and all I do is make noise. It sounds like I'm farting all the time.
Yeah, actually quite common.
How do you get rid of that?
Yeah.
Socks.
Yeah.
Socks.
Yeah.
Best is to follow up with your prosthetist, actually, just have them take a look at it and make sure there's nothing funny going on there.
There's a couple causes of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Could be multiple things.
Yeah, it just seems like it's my they told me to spray Sure on my leg so it won't sweat, but I think it's just it's sweating, and it's just making all that noise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
I just got a new socket, and I think Tiffany was going to use this method, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got something else based on from Union and Delatory by Rick Conrad, where they actually cast the leg or casted the socket right on my leg, and I was done in 2 hours from beginning to end.
They make the socket on your leg.
On your leg by
about you're talking about the definitive socket, the one that's laminated.
Yeah, I guess. And it's done in one process. And I had it done Tuesday. And got there at 9. I walked out at 11.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just took getting a little used to again. I have to go to PT to kind of break all my bad habits from 7 years. But
you're giving us a nice segue, Russ. We're going to do another one of these presentations on that.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the other way would have been perfect, would have been fine. And I think this is something that Dr. Gaines is just new within the last very short month or so, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Does that make it fit your leg better?
Yeah, in fact, I found out this morning because it's actually molded to your leg the day they make it. You don't have a whole lot of leeway left and right. In other words, if I put it on just a little bit off, I won't go into it. And if I move it just a tad, it slides right in.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a little movement on the toe a couple of days because I was sweaty, but the leg held tight. There was no question of it even attempting to come off. So that other process, what I've done now is I don't wear the shrinker at night. I leave it off, and I hate to say it, it's almost like I let the leg swell back a little bit so that when I'm in it the next morning, but putting it in and on, it's my God, you just put the liner on and get right into it. And if for some reason I have it a little bit off, I just release the valve, put it on, turn it, put it right back on again. So
wow. That sounds like something I could use.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 7 years.
Oh yeah,
so
this is going on my second year.
Well, I've had some corrective surgery and gone through a number of sockets, and I think probably Kate knows that. So I mean, now that I'm impressed. I still have to control myself not to go too crazy and leave it on too long. But so far, I see Tiffany on Thursday over at Union in Cranberry.
That process is called a direct socket.
A direct socket.
It's called a direct socket. And Russ, you did a good job explaining some of the pros and cons. I think typically, and maybe Kate and Bjorn or Peter can chime in on this, but I think it's probably best with a mature residual limb to be doing it, not one that has a lot of fluctuation, as what Russ was saying, that once it's made, that's where it is. Or if someone has a lot of fluctuation, it might not be for them. And as Kate mentioned, we are going to talk about that in more detail on our next one of these prosthetics and technology events. Rick Conrad, who did that socket for you, is going to be doing that presentation with another prosthetist, Bobby Dobson. So it is very interesting. I think it's interesting because it's as many processes. They're always got pros and cons, and they're always not for everybody. So it's always interesting to see how it's worked for you, especially since you just did it and it's done really well. That's great. That's excellent. That's
yeah,
good.
so far, like I said, I have to kind of learn how to walk on it a little differently. But the positioning of the plate and everything just seems to be more centralized and easier to control from what I, here I speak, but I mean, that's just what I've kind of observed. But the way you did today, I mean, I can certainly see how that would work very well on somebody, prior to this type of a thing. Because you can probably do that at more sites, I would expect.
With the direct socket, it does work better on some amputation levels. It's not great for every amputation level, so that's a factor. And then, yeah, that would be the biggest.
What about a below the knee?
It doesn't work as well, or not as consistently. We've had a lot of people try it and then not like the socket that comes out. It's also done a little bit under vacuum. There's a big balloon filled with air that's put over your leg while the lamination kind of sets off. And so it creates a very tight fitting socket, and that's not comfortable for everyone.
I
think Bob has a question, or Bob has a comment.
Yeah, my biggest issue is when I put it on, it's consistently, I can't get it so my foot is facing the right direction as I walk, either toes out or toes in too much. Will the direct one, when you put it on, line up exactly the same every time then?
There's a chance that would improve. It's not a guarantee, I don't think, but maybe.
Yeah, with sockets or with above the knee sockets, if there's rotation in the socket, even if it's made traditionally or with a direct socket, you would want to make sure that we control the rotation at the top. And then when the top fits you nicely and snug and intimate, then we would adjust the leg to your socket and not the other way around, because the socket is your foundation that sits on you, and then the knee and the foot will be aligned to your static alignment and to your gait pattern. So I would probably suggest see your prosthetist, have them take a look at it, make sure the socket is on correctly, and then align the leg towards that. And that may be why you have rotation. But it's always best just to talk to your prosthetist. That will give you a good answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you tell me, is Mike Zimmerman a prosthetist?
Yes.
He is?
Yes.
That's my man.
Okay, good. Yeah, good man there.
That's my man. I'm gonna tell you what he did. He's done wonders for me.
Yeah.
And he's a good man. I like him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, we're all, I don't know. I mean, it feels like it's news that's been out there for a while, but not everyone might be completely aware that Delatory and Union used to be two separate companies. But in October of last year, there was a merger, an acquisition that happened. Ed and Paul Delatory, if you'd ever met them before at a previous event that we held, ended up retiring. So that's why you see the Delatory and the Union logos together everywhere now. So we're working through combining two very healthy, very reputable companies into one big happy family.
Don't tell Ed that I taught him in 6th grade in Hampton. tells you how old I am.
Oh, hey, so here's what we want to know. Was he a tattletale or was he a tattletale?
Truth, I don't even remember.
He was unremarkable.
Too long ago.
No.
My sister,
Go ahead.
my sister's a teacher, and she's around 75, and all she does is she sees her students like in, that their their kids are going to school now, and she was a second grade teacher.
I'm glad I saw this today just because of the process the trouble I had gone through before. But I think for me, because I had a revision surgery, that corrected a lot of the issues that made what you did today would have been very, very applicable. And that's probably where we would have been, I'm sure, had it not been just happened to be run into Dr. Gaines with Rick.
Mm-hmm. Well, which is an interesting point, is not every doctor knows about all the technologies and is comfortable with them. And Dr. Gaines is. Most of the physical medicine and rehab doctors in Pittsburgh that do clinics are up on most of the latest things and have, some definite opinions on who they're best for too. So that's another source along with your prosthetist to discuss about new technologies and how they would affect you. Well, we're open for any kinds of questions for the prosthetist. Does anybody want to guess what room in the Robinson office Bjorn is sitting in?
I'm from Monroeville.
Stars are exploding out of his head.
He's got stars, and you think a good guess would be at least a pediatric room, right?
It looks like my dentist's office.
Probably the only office I haven't visited yet.
You probably won't. You won't be in this room for sure.
You won't ever get in that room. It's a little room, and it's where have you guys seen babies that have to wear the helmets? So show them the scanner. There's a helmet. Yeah, that's what they make. And so there is a scanner in that room, and that's why it's decorated for peds. And then the kids get scanned, and it only takes about a second to scan them. They kind of put them in there, attract their attention, they get scanned, and then they're able to get that molded helmet made for them. So
I could have used that helmet the first leg I had.
I don't think you're fitting in the scanner. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay. Show them the scanner, Bjorn. Show them how big it is. That's it. The baby's laid down in it. Okay.
Maybe I have a question. I know we were talking about direct fit sockets, and I know that Rick was going to do. Is that the next presentation going to be on the direct fit?
I think it's going to be the next one. Yes.
Okay, maybe Russ, if you'd be willing to possibly be a patient advocate. It sounds like you just got it recently.
Go ahead. Last Tuesday.
Okay. Because it's fairly. I know Rick has been kind of specializing along with RD4 from me, and so far so good.
Yeah, actually, I mean, Tiffany was the one that did helped along with it, and that. So it's just I was impressed. I mean, it's just that because what I was worried about is getting the check socket, then waiting a week to get it made. And the process you did here, it could all be done in one day, which was, that would have been a plus by any means. Yeah. But, and this direct also was a short period of time, but yeah, I'm still learning how to get into it just right, because it molds your leg. So if you're, for some reason, there's something that doesn't fit just right, you don't slide in and the air doesn't come out the way you needed to.
Right, and you had the revision recently too, I know. So
yeah, I did. Yeah, which was a big improvement over.
Oh yeah. So I know the direct fit. There was a question on the below the transtibial, and we've done a number of those and recently, and unfortunately, we haven't had as much success as they're having with the transfemoral version. There's just been a lot more, I guess there's more bony structure, obviously, in the below the knee amputees. And then like Kate was saying, excuse me, under vacuum, it's pretty tight. And so I think we did 4 patients before we were actually going to be trained in the transfemoral version. I know Rick and RD4 from Union have been down that road for a while now as far as training. So, we're hoping to train more clinicians across the board in the direct fit transfemoral, but also in the transtibial. But unfortunately, it's just a kind of a different animal. So all 4 of the patients that we fit in that so far, we've taken out and kind of went back to traditional methods with our system, through the CAD and all that. So, but sounds like if we're going to do a presentation next on this topic, I think it's wonderful. And so, yeah, Russ, I think you'll have more time on it. So maybe you can help some feedback, through that process too. So.
Could be a patient model, Russ,
What's that?
Could be a patient model.
I just couldn't get this one done in camo, though. That's the only thing I had.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Nice. But you saw that in the presentation, it was all below the knee sockets. And
A nice Steeler socket. Yeah.
You like that?
I hope it brings them good luck this season.
I hope so. They
Good
got that kid from Alabama. They're going to be great.
Najee Harris.
My son-in-law is from Alabama. He was a cop down in Alabama, and he did all the games there. He's a very big Alabama fan. But
that's cool. Let me bring up another topic that's kind of fun. We currently, I don't know how many of you guys are on Facebook, but we have like a Facebook contest that joining it or being in the contest is closed, but looking at it is still open. And we had 9 participants send in like their sockets and pictures of their fun sockets. And then they're put on our Facebook pages and you go to vote on them. So here's the fun thing that happened is that the only thing we've done like this that is really, really taken off is we do a baby helmet contest where they send in the cutest pictures you've ever seen of these kids, like wearing the helmets, sitting by pumpkins and walking, and they look great. We all know babies, and some of them even have their dogs with them. So you know that those pictures, everybody loves them, and all kinds of things are happening on it. So then we have this one contest with Facebook with prosthetics that just started. The very first weekend, it just blew apart. Okay. So far last Thursday, by the time that we made it to last Thursday, we had over 17,000 impressions of the photos, meaning that's how many times it got impressed out into the internet. There was 2,100 engagements, which means likes, comments, and shares on it. So I would say the amputees beat the babies. Okay, so you guys did pretty good.
Libby, how do you get on that site? Because I couldn't find it.
It's if you search for Union Orthotics and Prosthetics,
okay, and
your search bar on Facebook, it should come up.
Facebook, okay.
Yeah.
I put mine in. I didn't know if it made it. It was like the last night, the last hour. So I don't know if it ever made it in.
Is your picture on it? I don't remember if it is or not.
No, I don't think so. I was lucky I was able to get it on the computer from my phone. It drives me crazy. So yeah. I'm not too literate that way. So I don't know whether it made it or not. I'll have to check.
Okay, well, you'll have to check and see, and then share it. See, it hasn't even gone through all of your people yet. See, so if you're on it, but it's been really fun seeing the amputee community, how engaged they are for each other, which is really, really special. So there's been a lot of people on it checking it out, and the pictures are fun, of course. So they are. Other questions?
No.
Other topics? This is where I wish we had dessert to give you. Hey, Colleen, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I just have a question. On at the bottom of my residual limb, I'm a below the knee amputee, and the problem that I am having is that where the incision was, the scar, is still not completely closed, and every time I walk, it opens up, and it just gives me an uncomfortable fit because it just changes the position every time I'm walking on it. What is there available to do? Or how can I go about helping it close? Or, and this is 3 years as of yesterday. So
it's an open
wound. Are you
wound?
following up with any kind of
it's
doctor?
not an open wound. It's not an open wound at all. It's just where the incision is, the scar is not come together. And so it kind of looks like a star at the bottom almost. And it just, and every time I step on it, because it's right at the bottom, it just presses it open more. And then sometimes if I'm wearing it a long time, it'll start to split the back open, not open as in bleeding, but open, spreading it wide. And I know from experience that if I keep walking on it, it will split it open. So I'm just wondering, we've tried a gel pad there, which created a blister. So I'm just wondering what there is to do, or what possibilities are there? Or what has somebody else tried?
When I came home from the hospital, after I got out of the nursing home, I came home and I thought I was the King Tut. And I was on my walker going into the bathroom, and my walker slid out, and I slid down, and I hit square on my amputation, and split it open about 7 inches.
Oh,
and you should see my bathroom. It looked like I killed 15 people in my bathroom. There was blood everywhere, on the ceiling, on the walls, everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
Finally, I ended up going back to the hospital. They took me back into the hospital, and they stitched me back up. And I had a lot of problems when I was coming out of the second one, because it wasn't closing all the way.
Oh.
And what I did was I put like a gel on it, like a triple antibiotic, and got it to. I finally got it to close. My incision isn't the nicest looking incision, but where I have problems is where the bone comes down, and they've cut that bone off. It's sticking out, and it's constantly, has a rash on it.
Oh, geez.
So there's a couple of things there. I think for that bone, if you're shrinking, if the soft tissue is shrinking around the bone, you think the bone is actually growing, but it's not. It's always been that size. It's just the soft tissue around it is getting smaller. It's atrophying. So then you need to talk to Mike and say, hey, you might need to snug you up certain other areas to relieve the bone. If you have always an issue there, then that's something you want to take care of. And Mike would be the right person to do that.
Okay.
Now for Colleen, you would have to, I mean, without looking at it, it could be just, it sounds like to me, you basically tearing that skin apart at the bottom of your residual limb.
I'm not tearing the skin per se, it's just spreading it. So it's not opening, but the scar, it's just keeps spreading it every time I take a step.
Do you feel that your skin is mobile over the bone at the bottom of your residual limb?
I don't, there's some skin, but sometimes that bone in the front I've walked on it before. And Joe, I see Joe Carter up in Titusville. and he's fantastic, and he takes care of it and everything. And I'm just wondering what I can do else. I mean, we've tried so many things, but in my mind, I'm just like, I don't know. It seems like if I'm not walking on it, it closes more, but then as soon as I walk on it, it opens more, and it opens more, and it just pushes it all out. So it's not comfortable to walk on. I'm due for we're going to, this week here in a couple of days up to see about getting a new leg. So, but I'm just, when I'm home, I'm just trying to think of what I can do else.
Do you go to any PMR doctor, any physiatrist?
I see Joe Carter up at Union Orthotics up in Titusville, and I go to a prostheticist up in Erie. So.
Yeah, I mean, without seeing it, I wouldn't know what to tell you. What the correct thing I would have to, what the correct solution would be to remedy the problem that you're having. I would have to take a look at it.
Okay, because we put a gel pad in the bottom to absorb the shock when you step on it.
Give you
know, when you're taking a step, but it just created more problems because it created a blister for my leg. Well, from at the bottom of my knee. So I'm just wondering, but thank you.
Anytime. Awkward silence.
Awkward silence. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
You answered everything that I had here.
You know, we have enjoyed spending this time with you guys, and we hope that you enjoyed it too.
I did very much. I got here late, but I enjoyed what I heard.
Okay. So we'll be sending out links for our next one. We don't have a date set yet. We have to get a commitment for the direct socket people to set up a date, but it'll be in the same type of format where we come on Zoom and they present about that technology, and then we ask questions, and you can ask any other question you want. So we are really glad. One other thing I wanted to bring up, for those of you, it sounds like, I know Colleen sounds like she's pretty far away, but some of you might be closer. I just wanted to talk about, I know Doug's been there before, and Bob was even here last week, the amputee walking clinic that we do. It's on the 4th Tuesdays. It's at the Harmer location, which is right off of 28 and right off the turnpike, easy to get to. And the walking clinic, what's special about that, it's kind of like getting free PT. And you also, they're the physical therapists from UPMC. They're specialized, they're limb loss centers. Those are the PTs that are come and help. And then there's always a prosthetist there too, in case you have some questions. And it's like kind of like a support group with activity, because you learn to do some exercises, and probably some of them you already know, but you get to do them under supervision to make sure you're doing them correctly, so that they're always exercises you can pretty much do at home. We also have a Zoom link for that we put up on Facebook to say, hey, you can join us, that kind of thing, to come and register for, because that one's listed as a webinar. So you have to register for it, and then we'll send you the link for it. And you can participate even at home if you can't come. We have space for about, I'd say, 10 people live under the current COVID configuration, but ultimate, like lots of people on Zoom. We normally get about 5 people that are live here, and they're kind of like our demo people, so that you can see what the exercises are. And there, Doug, you want to mention, I know you've been there, you want to talk about the clinic for a minute?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what to say, except that I think it's a great idea.
Where's it at?
I also like to come and talk to people. As you know, I'm very shy. but it helps a lot to have somebody see what you're doing, make sure you're doing the exercises right, like you said. And also, like, I know I'm repeating myself, but the camaraderie with other people is also good.
Yeah. Where it's located at the Harmer office, which is off of 28 out of Pittsburgh at the Turnpike.
Okay.
Kind of by Oakmont, that area. Where do you live?
Well, I used to work there. That's what I'm asking. Where was that?
Okay. Oh, you know where the Alexander Center is? That yeah, we're in that building. The building that you saw the pictures of at the end of the other presentation are actually the Alexander Center. There's still the workout place on the one end, and there's doctor's offices in there. So that's where we are. Okay.
I went once, only I didn't have a chance to really go more because I had problems with the socket. But the thing I really liked is they can analyze your gait and kind of get a baseline, so then you can adjust your pattern of walking to fit what is the correct way. And I was, like I said, I only was able to go once because I had that too many socket issues, but definitely it's worthwhile. I want to get back to it.
Yeah, look forward to seeing it. Pardon?
When did you say it was? The fourth?
It's the fourth Tuesday of every month, 3:30 to 5.
3:30 to 5.
I just saw your last one that you just had in April, and
that's right.
It was the first one that I just saw through Zoom, and I loved it. I was so excited to see it.
Yeah. Were you able to exercise along with them?
I did, and I never knew about the tennis ball trick underneath the foot, which was great. Good. And there was a lot of different things that I didn't remember from PT, so it helped. And I loved that everybody was in a different stage of progression, and everybody had different things. And it was great to see them and then see somebody help them to more or less correct how they're walking or make it easier for them. And it was great to see everybody was so helpful, and it really helped a lot.
Good. I'm glad you were able to join us on Zoom. I knew I recognized your name from someplace. That's where it's from. So yeah, it's a great event. The next one's, I think it's the 25th of May, which is the fourth Tuesday. And we'll be here we'll be at the Harmer location from 3:30 to 5. If you are on our Facebook page, you'll see reminders of it there. If you want to do it, I guess Colleen, you now know how you're probably signed up on the webinar, so that you know how to get on there. If anybody else needs any other information how to do it, you can get a hold of your prosthetist. They can also let you know how to do this and where it is. And at all of our offices, either Delator or Union, there should be a flyer about the event. If you're there, you can pick one up to remind yourself about it and put it on your refrigerator. So we have enjoyed being with you guys today. So we're going to sign off now. We'll let you know when the next one is, but I hope to see you at the end of this month at the walking clinic as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm really
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.